Hello, hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, episode number 6. What am I going to do when I run out of fingers? A weekly podcast where I answer your yarny questions and talk about all things yarny going on over here. I am Sarah of SEK Handmade. It is wonderful to be back here with you this week. Just right up here at the beginning, I'm going to ask you to do all the YouTubey things. It would mean so much to me. Ooh, that's really steaming. If you would subscribe and like this video and share it with a friend and do all those things because it helps other people see it. And I love chatting with all the people. Let's see if this is too hot. It's very hot. Shouldn't have warmed that up quite so much. Also, as I said right up front, this is about answering your questions, and I would love to answer your questions about crochet or knitting or yarn. My friends, I have started looking into supported spindling and drop spindling. Very tempting. Haven't started. Don't know if I will, but I'm like, that might be a good birthday gift. So we'll see. We'll see. Do I need to add another craft to the list? No. Might I? I might. I come from a long line of what I call chronic crafters. We do all the crafts. We love them all. My mom sews. I had a grandma who painted. Anyway, so we're very pro craft of all varieties. The boys are doing some weaving, which is super fun. Anyways, so let me tell you about what I am wearing. I am wearing my Grand Arches shawl, which I'm going to take off. I chose to wear this today for 2 reasons. One, because I feel like the poor Grand Arches shawl does not get enough love. And I wonder if it's because people have a hard time seeing the shape of the stitches because of the yarn. This yarn is amazing and gorgeous. It was hand dyed specifically for this design by my friend Fatima, who does gorgeous, gorgeous hand dye things. So check out the show notes to go shop her yarn. She just launched her spring yarns a bit ago, and they're lovely, very springy. 2 of the colors, the Tweedy colors, I think, remind me of tulips. I love tulips. I need to plant some tulips, though we have lots of squirrels and bunnies, so I have a feeling I would plant tulips for them to dig up and eat. So I love this shawl because of its really unique construction. It's just a really traditional triangle shawl in shape, but it starts in the center and you work out. So all you're doing is decreasing. You're not increasing. Wait, I was going to say you're not increasing and decreasing, but you don't increase and decrease in a traditional shawl either. You just increase. But I love when things start big and go smaller because normally you're like super enthusiastic at the beginning, right? And then at the end when you've got like 500 stitches around the edge, you're like, oh, when is this going to end? But so with this one, you start with the most stitches. You get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you start again and get smaller and smaller and smaller. So I feel like there's a lot of satisfaction in this construction, in feeling like you're really getting accomplished, because once you do this middle part, each row gets faster and faster and faster and faster because it gets smaller and smaller. And then I've added on these little end pieces to make it nice and long, especially a traditional shawl shape, triangle shawl shape. I like to have enough length, and I wanted to add length without adding depth because, as we've discussed before, I'm quite short. So I added these little pieces to give you lots to wrap around so that you don't have to have it, woo! I hit the light. So you don't have to wrap it super tight. You've got plenty of room to wrap it nice and loosely. And then I'm real cash with this one. I just wrap it around loosely, give this a little zhuzh. And then look, I've got plenty going around me. If you are a person who tends to have their shawls fall off, you can even put those underneath and tie them just in a, I wouldn't tie them in a tight knot, but tie them in a little loose, simple knot. And then you can have like, look, it's not tight around my neck. It's just real loose and nice. So that's my 2 cents. Grand Arches shawl. I'll put the link in the description. I'm also wearing my Grand Arches earrings. This is one of my most popular earring patterns, and it's a lot of fun. It matches the shape of the stitches in the shawl, and it comes with, I'll put a picture up. It comes with 3 variations within the one pattern, all worked around these fun little hoops, which if you know my earring patterns, you know, they're not all like that, but it's kind of my thing. So, highly recommend both of these. They're fun. And maybe, oh, the other great thing about the Grand Arches shawl is this is worsted weight yarn. So it's still, because of the open stitch pattern, it's still a pretty lightweight shawl, but also if you're a person, a lot of my other shawls are in fingering weight yarn. If you're the kind of person who's like, no, fingering weight is scary, which, let me tell you, it's not scary. You can do it. But if it does scare you, then the Grand Arches shawl would be a great shawl to start with because it's worsted weight. And so most people, especially crocheters, are very comfortable with worsted weight yarn. So Grand Arches shawl, check out the links in the show notes. All right, let me tell you what is bringing me so much joy right now. I follow this account on Instagram, and if you're not on Instagram, I'm sorry. They're a public account, which I think means, I can talk, that even if you don't have an Instagram account, you can just go on the Instagrams on your computer, like on a web browser, and look at them and their posts, and I highly recommend. They are at Cedar Hill Fiber Farm. Again, in the show notes, I'll leave like their Instagram, the whole thing, their Instagram link, so that you could just click on it and look at it in your web browser, even if you're not an Instagram user. You guys, they have baby lambs right now. I love it. It's so fun. They're so cute. And like the owner, Clarissa, I think, she like shows you bottle feeding them. She does the whole shebang. She raises the animals. She shears the animals. She cleans the fibers. She processes the fibers. She spins the fibers. And I gotta tell you, even if you aren't really into that kind of stuff, you gotta check it out. Even my boys are interested. They're like, Mom, show us the lady with the lambs again. They're just so stinking cute. And watching her shear the sheep and the goats, she just showed her shearing. I don't think she actually showed her shearing it, but she showed a goat like hopping up onto the shearing stand, which I think if you've ever watched somebody who shears a sheep like on the ground, a lot of times it looks like they're wrestling them, which I think for some people can be a little bit like jarring, like, oh, now I feel bad. They had to wrestle that sheep to shear it, and isn't that like stressful for the sheep? First of all, I think the answer to that is no. I think the sheep like being sheared, and like, my dog, when you flip him over on his belly, you get a point where they just kind of like hang out on their belly, especially sheep that are used to that. So, but she shows this goat hopping up. She uses a shearing stand so that she can stand up and shear sometimes. And so she shows him like hopping up into the stand, and then like him just hopping off, and he just seems happy as can be to have a little haircut, which I understand. I love a good haircut. So she also has bunnies. Oh, can you tell? Can you tell how much joy it's bringing me? You must go give it a look. Oh, it's so much fun. So much fun. So that is what is bringing me joy. I hope you go check it out and that it brings you some joy too. Easy, free, free entertainment, free joy bringing. When you're down and you just need a little pick me up, the weather's gray outside, go watch those little lambs prance across her yard. So cute. Also, I'm pretty sure she's engaged and she's spinning. She's like at least part of her wedding gown. She's like taking some of her animal fibers and processing them and spinning them and making, like, I don't know if she's knitting or crocheting part of her wedding dress, which like blows my mind. Amazing. So lots of fun. All right, announcement. The shawl along has begun. So, shall we make a shawl? Yes, we shall. I hope you're as excited about this as I am. Like I've said, I've gotten all the spring feels with the shawls and the inspiration for shawls. These are my sister shawls. Poppy is available right now. I almost called her the wrong name. Zoe is in testing. The third shawl, which is like the third sister shawl, which is a rectangle shawl, who I'm calling Flossie, which I love. All the ending in Y's for these sisters, is on my hook. I'm working on getting her done, and then I think I'm gonna make an earring out of the border because I think that would be fun. So all these things in the works, but the shawl along has begun. It is not too late to join in. Like, we've just barely begun. So join us. Pick a spring shawl. Here's how it works. I want to tell you the rules. The rules are very simple. Make a shawl. If you are going to make a shawl, you can join us. If you just like to watch other people make shawls, join us. How you can, no, let's talk the rules. Okay, so the rules are simple. Anyone can join with any shawl for community and encouragement. The only rule is that if you want to be entered in for prizes, you need to make one of my shawls, whether it's the Grand Arches shawl from forever ago, or the Poppy shawl. Hopefully the Zoe shawl is going to be out mid shawl along, and you might be able to pick that one up. I have my Marin shawl, any of the shawls. You can have already previously started. You can just need a little bit to finish up. You just need to work on the shawl. You don't even have to completely finish it in the time span. I would love, we're going the whole month. 4 weeks is plenty of time to do a shawl, even a fingering weight shawl. So I would love for you to finish the shawl. That's like my goal, is to like encourage you to like end the shawl along with a brand new shawl. But you know, I'm not going to be real picky. I know life gets in the way. People get sick. Kids get sick. Things happen. So I'm not going to I don't want to pressure you. It's supposed to be fun. So those are the rules. There will be some prizes. To enter the prizes, you just have to make one of my shawls. But if you have a shawl you've been working on and you need some motivation to finish it up, join us and just have fun. My last big event I did was the whip wrap up, and hands down, people said the prizes were just like the tiniest of sprinkle on the top of the community sundae. If that makes sense. They were like, prizes are fun, but the very best part of this was the community of getting together and working on things. So highly recommend that you join in, even if you're not making one of my shawls. You will not be shunned. You will be supported and loved. So how can you join? That's a great question. My levels of joining are from like super intimate, involved, intense, to just joining in on the periphery. And I know everybody has personal preferences for this, and so whatever you want to do is totally fine. So if you want to be super involved and have like the utmost intimate community, there are 2 ways you can do that. One, you could join the Facebook group. If Facebook is your thing, there is links in the show notes for all of these things, so you don't need to worry about hunting it down. Join the Facebook group. There's an SEK Handmade Make-Along group that is just, it's private, so it's not like a bunch of random people. It's all yarny people in there. And then also I'm going to start a chat group on Instagram again. That was so successful last time. So if you are an Instagram person and you want to be more intimately involved and chat and communicate and share pictures and encouragement and ask questions, send me a private message on Instagram and I will add you to the group. Again, it's a private group, so just people who are joining in this specific event. Highly recommend. We had so much fun last time. People made friends. People found out. We had two ladies who were like, one of them was like, and my triplets, and the other one was like, wait, you have triplets? I have triplets too. So you can find all sorts of new friends and fun people in there. So please join us. So much fun. If you want to be a part of things, but chatting with people is not your doesn't bring you joy, that's fine. You can use the hashtag SEK Spring Shawl Along. I'll put that in the description too, so that you can use that. Let's see, I'm gonna just put a little hashtag there so I remind myself to write that down. Or if you're not on the social medias, that's cool too. Send me an email. Show me what you're working on. I love it so much. Love it. I'm a one-woman show, so there aren't other people answering the emails that you send. It's just me. So I'd love to chat. I would also love to know, I'm something that's a struggle feels too dramatic, but when have I ever shied away from being dramatic? It's been a struggle for me to know where to best host these kind of events and to find a balance between hosting in enough places that lots of people can join in and not completely overwhelming myself. So I would love to know if you would be interested in these sorts of events being hosted anywhere else, like a Patreon or a Ravelry group or a Discord. I don't know much about it, but I'm willing to find out if that's something that that lots of people are like, yes, let's chat there. So let me know what you think. I'd love to know. Leave me a comment. Okay, I told myself I was going to be quick with this because we have great questions that might take me a while to answer. Have I been quick? No. Real quick, this is my Walt Allen mug. Again, I'll put the link down below. Highly recommend. So my small businesses are Walt Allen Ceramics and Aquarius Make Yarn. A whole basket of yarn over here that we'll talk about another time because we have questions to get to. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second. I apologize. Oh my gosh, I apologize. My kids don't have phones, like working phones, but they have old phones from us that will connect to the Wi-Fi so that they can listen to podcasts. And my oldest has figured out that he can set alarms. Yay. But he's not here. So why do we have an alarm? That's a great question. I don't know. It's driving me nuts. Can you tell? Okay, questions. All right, I chose these questions because I think they are questions that people might have starting the shawl along. So let's dive in. The first question is cotton a good fiber for a shawl, especially ones you want to wear as almost a garment wrapped around and secured in the back? So I feel like historical shows have been having a bit of a resurgence in popularity. That's what I'm looking for. And the wrapping a shawl. I don't know if this one's big enough for me to do this. Let me try. What they're talking about is when you wrap a shawl, you put the point in the back, and then you wrap it across your body. Nope, not quite big enough. And you tie it in the back. You need a pretty good size shawl to do this, depending on how big a person you are. So keep that in mind. It needs to be able to wrap all the way around your shoulders, across your bust, down around your waist, and back to the back. So that's one of my recommendations on that, is like, it's got to be a pretty big shawl. But what they are asking is cotton a good fiber for this? And I want to say a couple things right up front here. One, there's no good and bad fibers. There are definitely better uses, better places to use some fibers than other fibers. Let me tell you, please don't make a pot holder, like one you're going to put a hot dish on top of, out of acrylic yarn. Acrylic is plastic. If your pot or casserole dish is too hot, you're going to melt the plastic in there, and sadness and stinkiness will ensue. But that's not what they asked. They're asking about cotton. Here's my second disclaimer. I don't use a lot of cotton. Cotton is probably one of my least favorite fibers. But going back to the question of, is cotton a good fiber to use for a shawl that you're going to wear kind of like a garment? Yes and no. It's a lot of personal preference, but some things I think you need to be aware of are that, one, cotton has a tendency to stretch and grow as you wear it. So anybody who has made a long, like a long sweater out of cotton has probably noticed that they blocked it and it maybe hit here, and then as they wore it, it like got longer and longer and longer. And that's because, generally speaking, cotton fiber will stretch but does not have any bounce back to it. So it'll stretch and then it'll stay stretched, those fibers. So there are lots of varieties of quality of cotton, and they will all behave a little differently. So so you can choose to use cotton. A lot of people like to use cotton in warmer climates. I know there are people who have allergies to wool. If you think you have a wool allergy, I would try a superwash. A lot of times people have the allergy is really to the lanolin in the wool and the chemical stripping that goes on when you use a superwash wool. Will strip out the things that a lot of people find irritate their skin and give them a rash. So that's my 2 cents on trying wool if you find it irritates your skin. But some people exclusively work with cotton because they're in hot climates, or they just like it better, and that's wonderful. So if you decide, I guess I should say, I would not make that kind of shawl in cotton. As a personal preference, though, I don't make any shawls in cotton. I make almost nothing in cotton, other than like a coaster, maybe a bag, because of my personal preference. Could you make it in cotton? Yes. Couple things to be aware of: the stretch and the heaviness. I think people who have never made something very large in cotton, so if you've been like, I made this little bag and it was wonderful, I'm going to make a cardigan now. There's a lot more fiber in a cardigan than there is in a bag or a coaster or even, I don't know, a hat or a cowl. And as I said before, there's the stretch factor, but not the bounce back factor. And so the weight of your piece will hang on the fiber, and once your cotton is stretched, I don't know if you could try to shrink it back in your dryer a little bit. Maybe you'd want to be careful with that. but it's not going to bounce back like a lot of wools will. So my recommendation would be know your yarn. There are lots of different types of cotton out there. Some that go from just like wool, go from really hard wearing that maybe aren't the most soft to other things that are super soft and luxurious. But they're all going to behave differently then, and you need to know your yarn. So buy enough of the yarn that you can make a good size swatch. And I'm not talking good size swatch, I'm talking good sized swatch. And then block it how you're going to block it. And then I would, if I were you, I wouldn't pin it to dry. I would hang it. So maybe run like a little, either like clothespin it a bunch to a hanger, or like run a little rod, like I have blocking rods that you could run through and then clip the rod to the hanger. And then just hang it and see what the weight does to the fabric, the weight of the fabric on the fabric hanging, like it would hang on your body. What does that do to the fabric? So that you at least know kind of what to expect. The other thing is, if you are stretching it to wrap it around your body like that, it's not going to bounce back. It will stretch and stretch. So think about that. The other thing is, I would say maybe go for a blend. If you're not allergic to wool and there's a cotton wool blend, that wool will give it some of the characteristics of a wool. The blends that will not give it those characteristics, mixing it with another plant fiber like cotton and bamboo or cotton and linen, those also don't have the bounce back. So saying like, oh, she said use a blend, I'll use a bamboo cotton blend, that's not going to give you that quality. So 2 cents. Reasons I love wool over cotton, and this is just my 2 cents, so take it for what it's worth, and we all have our own preferences. I argue that wool is a year-round fiber. It is made to keep the little sheepies warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And those running out in the, we've bred sheep nowadays to need to be sheared because that was our preference. But sheepies that used to just run out in the wild, or goats, they don't get sheared. They wear their wool year round, and so it's made to be good for them to wear year round. I love wool. It has it's easy to work with, I feel like. I love the way it feels working with it. I love the way it shapes when you block it. I wear it year round. If I'm making a sweater, I make it in wool. If I make a shawl, I'm making it in wool. So I do really, I'm not just saying like, oh, it's year round, but I don't wear it year round. I do. And it's easy to wash. If you've ever gotten cotton, if you've ever soaked cotton yarn fully, which is another thing, I don't know that I would recommend blocking it by fully wet blocking. If you are going to do that, be very careful as you lift it out of the water, squeeze as much water out as possible. Be very careful when you lift it out. I'd roll it up in a towel, step on it, roll it out, put it in a dry towel, do it at least one more time to get as much water out, because the extra water weight, again, is going to stretch and not bounce back. But I feel like wool is easier to wash and to block, and the properties of wool cause it to not need to be washed as much, which I love. So, and generally speaking, you can think I'm gross. You can think I'm gross. Generally speaking, I think we wash our clothes too much. I mean, kids, they get gross and dirty, but you don't need to put your jeans in the wash every time you wear them. That's my 2 cents. Okay, so yes, you can use cotton. Be aware of its properties. Make yourself a big old gauge swatch so you can know specifically how that yarn is going to stretch and wear and work. Choose your pattern carefully to make sure you've got a long enough shawl to go all the ways. I mean, really, it's got to go, what, around you twice? It's got to come from the back to the front, crisscross, around, and to the back again. I don't know. That's maybe only once. But it's got to be longer than you think, in my experience. Take a tape measure, put it at your, put it around and wrap, and then like hold your finger on the measurement and see how long that is. My guess is it's longer than you'd think. It's not just your bust around, like you're coming distance too. And the taller you are and the bustier you are, probably the longer those measurements are going to be. So things to think about. Okay, question number 2. Hi, Sarah. I love colorful projects, but have a hard time putting colors together. Do you have any tips for deciding on color combinations for a project? You know I do. Yes, I have tips. I have lots of tips. First of all, I want to put out there that you should not feel hemmed in by the designer's use of color. This shawl is 2 colors. This shawl is 3 colors. Does that mean you have to use 3 colors and 2 colors? No. You could make it all in 1 color. I have been considering, don't know if I'll ever get to it. It's one of those things that I'm like, oh, if I had all the time in the world, I would definitely make my poppy shawl. I have a couple gradient balls that they shift through the colors, but they're all they all melt into each other, so it wouldn't be stripy. It would just be like, you know what I mean by that sound effect, right? And I thought that would be so much fun. One of my testers did 3 colors, but she mixed up the order of the colors, and it turned out gorgeous and amazing. You can totally do that. So don't feel like, oh, that sweater has 2 colors. I need to pick 2 colors. Of course, if if the thought of putting colors together overwhelms you, picking more colors might be harder. But then go in the opposite direction. If the thought of picking 3 colors overwhelms you with that, pick your favorite color and make the whole thing in 1 color. Or pick 2 colors and make the whole body in 1 color and make the edge in a different color. You are the captain of your ship. And once you purchase that pattern, how you adjust and modify, it's totes up to you. I've had people come to me and say, would you be upset if I, put stripes in this? No. And show me when you're done, because I want to see. I love it when people let their own creativity shine through my source of creativity, my patterns. So don't let the designer's color choice throw you off or hem you in to making your own color choices. Go crazy. The great thing about yarn is if you start with some color choices and you're like, I was gonna be adventurous and I was gonna throw this lime green in there, and you throw the lime green in and you're like, nope, bad choice. You just frog out that lime green and pick a different color. It's not the end of the world. These are not life-altering choices here. You're not stuck. So loosen up. People, I think, box themselves in as I'm a person who is very good with color and fashion, or I'm a person who is very bad at color and fashion. And that's not true. There's no good, there's no bad, there's no right, there's no wrong. It is all personal preference. I'm not going to tell you the story of having your colors done. I'll link, I think I have at least one. Well, I have several videos on choosing color, about choosing a color palette, and about picking yarns for projects. So I will link those in the description below if you want to go look at those some more. And so I'm not going to rehash because I know I tell the having your colors done story in one of those videos. But, you know, people used to have their colors done, and then like my mother-in-law probably had her colors done 30 years ago. Maybe not that long. No, yeah, probably 30 years ago. And she still stands by those colors. And if that makes you feel comfortable, that's awesome. But if you are limiting yourself because someone said, or, you know, whatever, don't feel pressure. You do you. Whatever makes you feel amazing and you love working with, that's what you need to do. But if you would like some guidance, let me give you a few quick tips for guidance. Tip number 1. Low contrast versus high contrast. So as in my poppy shawl here, my first 2 colors are pretty low contrast. It's a light gray blue and a lighter gray. Very low contrast. My hot pink then obviously is high contrast. So you need to think about, in the pattern, do you want high contrast or low contrast? And don't worry if the designer has chosen high or low contrast. That doesn't necessarily have to affect what you choose. I have seen a designer choose high contrast. That's my, you know, I like a good high contrast. And then seen one of their testers. I've seen this in sweaters even. Designer chooses high contrast. One of their testers does a very low contrast. And oh my gosh, it just looks gorgeous. You can go too far sometimes where, you know, like color work or, especially color work, stripes, you know, kind of whatever. But where color work will get lost in yarns that are too similar. And so, you know, if you love it, you love it. That's awesome. But I don't want you to be disappointed in, like, I pick up this thing for color work and my yarns are real close together. And then, like, I did all this work to do color work. You can't even tell that it's color work. You can't even see the design. So there are some situations, but also, like, don't let the designer's choice of level of contrast decide your level of contrast. You may really enjoy it in a really low contrast, or a designer may have done a low contrast and you may love it in high contrast. So if you are looking for, okay, I was just like debating what order do I want to say this in. Some easy color combinations to put together are neutrals and a bold. So neutrals and a bold, super easy color combination. 2 bolds, maybe a little high, a little harder. Another great way is to choose one yarn. I'm trying to see. Let me grab a skein. Okay, so I have this skein of yarn, and let's say that this was my first choice. I have this yarn. I know this is what I want. I need 2 more colors to go with it, and I don't know what to choose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this yarn and say, hey, that's a real pretty color. This deep, it's coming off real hot pink. It's more of like the really deep purpley that I really love, you know, that I'm a little obsessed with. That would be a great color to pull in. This also has some speckles. Do you see those speckles there? They have, like, there are lots of blue speckles in here. So I might say blue would be a great color to pull into this. So take a yarn, pull the colors that are already in the yarn, and use that as your color combinations. Go with a couple neutrals and a bold. Go with your favorite color and a neutral. So lots of different color combinations. I think we think like we see this in all bold and think, I'm bad at putting lots of bold colors together. That's okay. Make one of them a neutral and one of them a bold color, or make one of them your most favorite color and then just add a neutral to it. What's your favorite neutral? Are you a black person? Are you a navy person? Do you like a good gray? I love a good gray. Are you more of a grayish person? Do some grayish. Is grayish all the rage right now? Maybe not. I don't even know because I don't care. But do what you love. The other thing is, I would say look at your wardrobe. Because if you are making a wearable, let me tell you, I have previously, before I defined my color palette, which is one of the videos I'll put in the show notes below, before I defined my color palette, I have such an appreciation for color that I would buy all the things. I would be like, oh, that orange is gorgeous. And I would buy an orange. Do I wear orange? No. And so then I'd make something out of the orange and I'd be like, I have nothing to wear this with. So, highly recommend having a color palette. But even if you don't have a specific color palette, go into your closet and look around and be like, what could I wear this with? What could I wear this with? What could I wear this with? Everything. It's great. But, you know, it's going to be disappointing, even if you love the color combination you put together, if then you look in your closet and go, oh, no, I have nothing to wear with this. That might be exciting because you might just go buy new clothes, but maybe not. So look in your closet. That's a great place to double check in before you make something to know you have things to wear with it. Places to get color inspiration. Nature. Nature doesn't do it wrong. So if there is a flower that you love, you know, tulips pop up and they've got green and red and yellow and black. Get some green and red and yellow and black and make yourself a shawl, a sweater, a hat. Another idea for finding color palette ideas is fabric. I have none here. I have no fabric. These are all monochromatic, but you know, a really beautiful, I'm trying to see if I have a fabric around here real quick. I don't. A piece of fabric. Go to the fabric store. Even if you can't sew, go to the fabric store and see what colors a fabric has in it, and look and use those. Go to Pinterest and put in color combinations that include blue, color combinations that include green, and get inspiration there. So many great places for inspiration. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have questions, comments, concerns, I'd love to hear them all. Please leave a comment, give this a like. Thank you again for joining me today, and happy crafting.